The evening light fell softly across Ethan's living room, painting the walls with shades of gold that felt warmer than the home itself. The house was quiet, too quiet, in a way that makes silence feel heavier than sound. Ethan sat alone, a thoughtful man, careful with his words, and even more careful with the people he loved. The kind of husband who remembered anniversaries and favorite meals. But tonight, he wasn't the one who had been forgetting. His wife, Melissa, had started drifting away months ago. Slowly, quietly. Once her love felt like sunlight. Now he couldn't feel anything at all. The front door finally opened. Melissa walked in, her perfume too strong, her smile too practiced. "Hey," she said casually. Ethan lifted his eyes and smiled softly. "Hey." She walked past him, her phone buzzing in her hand. A message lit up the screen. Ethan saw it. The silence of the house pressed down on him again, and he finally whispered to himself, "It's happening, isn't it? The beginning of the end." The next morning, the house felt colder. Melissa moved around the kitchen like a stranger, while Ethan stood by the counter, pouring coffee. His hands were steady, but his heart wasn't. "Ethan," Melissa said, her voice unusually soft. "We need to talk." He set the coffee pot down, calm and ready. "Okay." She sat across from him, twisting her fingers. I haven't been honest with you." He waited. "I've been seeing someone." The words landed gently, like something he had already accepted. He just nodded slowly. Confused? Melissa had expected anger, maybe tears, but Ethan's face was unreadable. "How long?" he asked. "A few months," she whispered. So that's how long he had been losing her. "His name is Lucas," she added. Ethan finally exhaled, a long breath of acceptance. "And you want to be with him?" "Yes," she said, with no hesitation. "Okay," Ethan whispered. Just one word, but it hit Melissa harder than any argument, because his acceptance felt like goodbye. Melissa stared at him, waiting for something, anything. "Is that all you're going to say?" she asked. Ethan simply nodded. "You've made your choice." A frown crossed her face. "You're not mad?" He shook his head. "No, I'm sad, but not mad." "Why aren't you fighting for us?" she whispered, her voice cracking. Ethan's gaze was gentle, filled with a quiet pain. "I did fight," he said softly. "Every day you pulled away, I stayed. Every time you stopped talking, I listened. Every night you didn't come home, I waited." Her eyes filled with tears. "You left long before today." He stood up and packed a small bag. When he came downstairs, she asked, "Where are you going?" "I need space," he replied. "And you need freedom." He paused at the door, turning back one last time. Leaving feels different when the person doesn't chase you, doesn't it? The door clicked shut, and that quiet broke her more than any anger ever could. Days turned into a slow funeral of memories. Ethan found a place with a friend, while Melissa stayed alone, drowning in a guilt she never saw coming. Lucas wanted to see her, but she wasn't ready. Because for the first time, she missed Ethan, the way he said her name, the way he listened, the way he cared without asking for anything in return. She missed the man she didn't realize she loved until he was gone. One evening, she decided to act. She had to talk to him, to apologize, to understand why his silence cut deeper than any fight ever could. She drove to his apartment, her heart pounding as she knocked. But when the door opened, it wasn't Ethan, it was Rachel, his childhood friend. A woman Melissa had always felt a quiet threat from. Before she could process it, Ethan appeared. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. He nodded, but her eyes were fixed on Rachel. "Why is she here?" Ethan's smile was soft. "Because you left," he said, "and she stayed." The words hit her hard. When she asked if they were together, he just smiled again and said, "Perfect. Rachel's already here." It wasn't revenge. It was just a peaceful truth. His heart had moved on, quietly and naturally, and somehow, that hurt more than anything. A week later, Melissa found herself standing in the rain outside the cafe Ethan always loved. She didn't know why she came, maybe to apologize, maybe for closure, maybe just to feel what she threw away. Inside, Ethan sat by the window, watching the rain with a peaceful look she'd never seen before. She walked in. He looked up. "Hey Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry." He nodded. "You don't need to apologize, but I hurt you," she said. He gave a sad smile. "And I healed." She sat down, tears welling up. "I thought you'd always fight for me." Ethan looked at the rain. "I did," he said quietly. "But peace came when I stopped trying to hold someone who didn't want to be held." Melissa broke down. "What about Rachel?" she whispered. He smiled faintly. "She helped me remember who I was before I lost myself trying to keep you." He wasn't angry, he wasn't bitter. He had just accepted it. The rain had softened to a drizzle as they sat in the quiet cafe. Melissa finally asked the question that had been haunting her for years. "Did you ever stop loving me?" Ethan took a long moment, stirring his coffee, before answering. "No," he said, his voice steady and honest. "But I did stop waiting for you to love me back." Her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't cruelty, it wasn't revenge, it was freedom. He was free. Ethan finished his coffee and stood up. "I hope you find what you're looking for," he said gently. Melissa looked up, her eyes pleading. "And what did you find?" He smiled, a soft, sad smile. "Peace." Then he walked out, his umbrella opening with a soft click into the gray day. She watched him disappear, her own tears finally falling, blending with the rain outside. She'd left him seeking adventure, only to realize the steady love she abandoned was the only real thing she ever had. And now, it was gone. Not because he stopped caring, but because he finally learned to care for himself. Thanks for watching. Sometimes the strongest goodbyes aren't the loud, dramatic ones. They're the quiet steps you take away from someone who stops seeing your worth. It's the silent decision to finally choose yourself. You might see someone walking away, not with anger, but with a calm resolve. It's not about shouting matches or slamming doors. It's about recognizing that some chapters have to end for a new story to begin. You know, not every love story ends with a fight. Sometimes it ends with a quiet, heartbreaking acceptance. And that kind of acceptance, that hurts the most, because it means it's truly over. But finding peace doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you finally learned to care for yourself. And that's the most important love story you'll ever write. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more.